Hello everybody, this is Zerda back again with another Team Top Deck testing video. We are going to be running through some Temur Rec today. I've done some minor upgrades to the deck as I've gotten a few more wild cards. Most notably, I've got the second Uro now, and I've added the third Thassa's Intervention. I think Thassa's Intervention, just being able to dig as far as you need once you have a Rec out for the expansion for game, is pretty important, and Uro is a beast. Obviously I should have been running them before. After further reflection, I decided not to cut the Storm's Wrath. I think it's a really good kind of effect to have in this deck, and it does still often catch Teferis and other such annoying permanents and planeswalkers. Down to one Rowl's Outburst. I was trying two for a little while there. Back down to 2 Omen of the Seas to make room for the third Thassa's Intervention. And I'm trying out dropping a Steam Vents and a Stomping Ground for each of their respective temples, not dropping the Breeding Pool because it's got both of the colors I might be missing for a Growth Spiral on turn 2, and that's pretty important to me. But I figured I'd try out both the red-green and the blue-red temple. I think I might end up playing more if I decide to drop the Fabled Passages, but I'm not sure how likely that is, as they are an untapped, technically an untapped tri-land the turn you play them if it's turn 4 or later. Maybe when I get the third Uro I'll drop a Shark Typhoon, but that is one of the cards I have in here to really help deal with Teferi, because that card is, you know, it kind of shuts down our entire deck. Next upgrade I'm going to get with a rare wild card will obviously be the Castle Vantress, because, you know, we need more than just one. And after that, hopefully the third and final for this deck, Uro. Alright, and that is everything for the deck tech and updates. We are still playing 28 lands, as this is a very, very mana-hungry deck, and we can dig through quite a few cards. We always want our Growth Spirals and Uros to hit when we can. And just pump out big sharks and explosions. So, without further ado, let's hop into some Ranked, which, by the way, has reset for the season, so here we go. So something to note with this deck is you don't have to mulligan to a Reclamation, although hands with Reclamation are obviously generally speaking way better. You do, however, need to have enough lands to play. Alright, have a Rec, have some dig and interaction on the play. This is a hand that I'm going to lead on the Triumph. Sometimes I'll try and hold on to it a little longer in case I decide I'm not going to need it and just cycle it, but in this hand it's my only red source, and that might be important. Opponent is not on a companion deck, worthwhile to note. And B, and to me a little more importantly, I'm going to want all these lands, and I want them to come in untapped later. So I'm probably going to draw more lands. This Triumph, it's still early enough, I just want to get my colors set up. I do need double red at some point. Worthwhile noting, I'm still holding up Mystical Dispute in case they're the Temur version. They appear like the Temur Adventures. Not sure what they'd have played, but, you know, keep your options open. Here I'm gonna go with a Forest, so I can either Scorching, Dragonfire that. They might play a Yorvo at this rate, so I'm gonna hold up the Mystical Dispute. Now, that means we might have to just accept the fact that the Barkhide Troll is going to exist, but it also means we won't have to deal with a Yorvo, or even, say, their, what do you call it, Lovestruck Beast. It also means if we want a Scorching, we can still Growth Spiral into it. Ooh. It's a card I don't like seeing, but I think I'm gonna go ahead and Growth Spiral, try to kill it. Does mean I take 2 damage, but I'm not entirely opposed to that. Could also draw a land that means I don't take the damage. And what do you know, that's what we did. I'm going to go ahead and kill the Growth Chamber Guardian. Having played some of the Gruul decks of the past, that card can get really, really out of hand. Just being essentially a split up 5 mana 4/4 that draws you a card. Not something a more controlling deck likes to deal with. So here I have the question of if I want to Breeding Pool or Blast Zone. Blast Zone would give me the mana to make a 3/3. I don't think I'm going to need that, so I'm going to Wilderness Wreck and Breeding Pool tapped. This leaves open my Mystical Dispute on their turn and the potential to Emergency Cycle the Sharknado, but that's probably not going to happen. 4 mana. Which one's that? Ah, Castle Garenbrig. There's Yorvo. Oh, wrong card. We don't want to deal with a incredibly large threat that will only grow. As well as, I'm assuming with all the green pips I'm seeing that they might be Green Devotion. Barkhide Troll is also just kind of a reasonable card. Not entirely, but it's close to one. So I don't want to make any assumptions on that yet. Alright. So during this end step, I think we're just going to make a huge shark. I'm also going to leave open some mana. If I can make a big enough one that I want to make at least a 6/6. So let's see. Right now we have 4, 4, 5, 6. Let's go 5, 6. Right, do I need to leave open this many? There's nothing for 4 mana I would like to do, I don't think. Actually, Thassa's Intervention exists, so I'm going to leave it at a 6/6. If I didn't get at least 3 mana left open, I would have just gone for the last 2, but here, 6/6 is big enough. It will deal with those at their current size, as well as hold off what they currently have in play. Whew. Alright, there's Vivian. Alright, so holding off isn't actually going to work anymore.
I will survive you.
Alright. +1.
This will be fun to watch.
Think that we're going to go ahead. Yeah, we're going to put this up to 2. There's no 1-drop we want, so even if we don't end up blowing it up on 2, there's no big deal there. Alright. Let's see. 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14. So let's see. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. So we could Explosion for 10. Let's see. 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. I think we're going to expansion them for 10. Because it puts us in, as long as they don't kill our shark, a pretty good, puts us at a position where we're pretty likely to draw another expansion and just kill them next turn. On the other hand, I'm wondering what they might grab from outside the game, but I think that would mean we also don't die. So no attacks here. end turn. Red, generic, blue, blue, green, blue, blue. And let's try and go for the win next turn. I mean, one card in hand, and I guess Questing Beast would be bad for us, but it's a little late for that now. Alright, there we go. Longest we get to untap, we get to win on our next turn. No use holding a complete excess of lands. There we go. Alright.
My,
And they're
how
going
you've grown.
fully in of Struck Beast. And what's that one? Alright, looks like we got there. Take 3. Play a land. Put a stop on our end step because Arena isn't always the most forgiving of you not doing that. Blue, red, generic, blue, blue, green, blue. And the opponent knows we have it and doesn't want to waste our time. Kudos to you, opponent. Be nice if this game would end, though. Huh. Well, this is awkward. I'm gonna see if I can figure out what's going on here. If there's any way to... Let's see. Nope, escape isn't working to pull up the menu. Let's see if I can manage anything. Alright, so I'm going to be right back. I just need to go ahead and restart Arena here. Just working behind the scenes. Alright, so we definitely could have played that game a little more tightly. I think that it was actually wrong to try and deal with the 4/4. Just given the potential for, what do you call it? The potential 4/4, I think the tempo advantage of them trying to go for it would have been big if we'd held on to the fire. I think it was correct to eventually do it, but I think when we did it was wrong. Especially given that we did have the fire. Or the, what's it called? The reclamation. Right. In any case, Arena is back up. So, let me go ahead and switch you back over to the live screen. Which is not being captured. There we go. That would have been bad. Alright, and we are back. So, let's go right into the next game and hope that doesn't happen again. I wonder if it often freezes the game if an opponent can siege with a wreck trigger and mana. That'd be a annoying bug, I'd imagine. Opponent goes first, they're Luris. We've got a Dragonfire, a Growth Spiral, a Wreck, and a Cycler. So 2 card draw spells, a Reclamation, and Ramp. I am 100% okay with this hand. And there's the best card in our deck. The one that wins us the game. I think I'm gonna lead on Fabled Passage. Give my opponent a little less information. Alright, so that's the flavor of Luris they're on. Alright. Now here we're gonna want believe a green source. We have plenty of blue in our hand. Play out a Steam Vents untapped. Pass the turn back. Just in case our opponent plays a big aura on their Transcendent Envoy. Sentinel's Eyes is fine. Alright. And Growth Spiral away. I'll put down the Triome, but I'm not as certain on it this time. Because I think last time that was also a misplay I made. Was playing out the second Triome when I did. I should know that I'm most likely to draw a lot of lands in a 28 land deck. And play the odds there of me wanting to cycle it way more than I want it to eventually be untapped. So here I really like where we are. As long as nothing insane happens, like that resolving, we're just going to Scorching Dragonfire their Envoy. If they try and respond, we'll expansion it, and I'll like where we are less. Alright, and that's what I was worried about. And I was about to start breaking down that idea to see, let's see. So we have 5 lands, assuming we don't draw the other one in the worst case scenario. That's 4. Is that also an enchantment? Ooh. I think if they have another God's Willing, it's just not worth it. And we don't need to get that lucky to be able to just explosion it next turn, I believe. This is going to be a very large creature, however. Worst case, as long as they don't have another one, we can also send out a Shark Blocker. Ah, for shame. So let's see. Alright, so during the end step here, we're going to Explosion for 6. Attempting to kill their very large creature. And if we fail, it likely means that they put something else on it and we lose on the spot. Wait, what am I doing? There we go. 5, 6. And let's see if they have another God's Willing. Whew. Just as bad. At least for us. So let's see if we survive till next turn. We're not going to get them with a Scorching Dragonfire. And we're not going to get there with... Gonna discard a mountain. And if we survive, big if at this point. Oh, we are not surviving. I was gonna say we would do second Wilderness Reclamation I'll agree, that was a good game. It was close at least. If they didn't have one of those, then it would have been, you know, a fairly good race from that point on. By which I mean completely one-sided in my favor. But that's how this kind of matchup goes. If we start doing our thing, well, we're a combo deck and we just kind of completely overwhelm anything they're doing. And if not, they're an aggro deck and we don't get to do our thing. Okay. Not a fan of this hand on the draw. But it only takes... This is the kind of game that we managed to make it to turn 5. This is really good to have double rec expansion, explosion. And if not, this is definitely, I feel like this is definitely a mulligan and I shouldn't be thinking about it. I like this one a lot less, but I'm going to keep it, because on 6 you're not allowed to be quite as picky. I'm going to get rid of the stomping ground here. It is our worst land. Lead on the Triumph. And yes, this definitely wouldn't be the kind of game where we were going to get to turn 5 and not pay dearly for it. Alright. So here I'm just going to play an untapped mountain and pass the turn. I'll worry about the worthy knight later. I'm going to see if I can catch them with their pants down, I believe is the phrase, when they go to pump their knight. They don't? Oof, which one's that? It's battlefield, control another knight, top 5 cards of your library, reveal a knight or equipment legendary from among them, put it into your hand. Nice. That's pretty good. Yeah, I suppose knights getting 2 tri-lands, one of them untapped, is fairly good for them. I'm gonna go ahead and deal with the Knight of the Eben Legion. It represents the most potential damage, except for the worthy knight. Here, I think I might be... no. I think I take too much damage if I try and shock in this turn to get a 1/1. And again, I could have used it to gain a life and draw a card by blocking the acclaimed contender. I'm not sure how I should have done that there. Because I also really want to try and dig for a Storm's Wrath. Alright, I think that settles it. I need to just cycle the Sharknado. If I don't hit a Storm's Wrath, I'm in a lot of trouble here. And I definitely misplayed. I should have shocked. Alright, Wilderness Wreck isn't exactly what we're looking for here. Yeah, we'd have gained like 3 life off of that. Okay, I don't think it's possible for us to win anymore. But in case my math is somehow incredibly far off, I'm going to leave it for host. So let's see, 4. So this is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. This is 3, 4. Killing this would also reduce that by 1. Let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. This represents 4 damage. That would then represent 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Yeah, no, I don't know why I thought that I was at 9. I'm just going to go ahead and cast this in case I still need it for my daily quest. And let my opponent do damage in case they need it for theirs. Alright. Not the best showing from us so far. And let's go right back in. I think after this game I'll give you guys a little bit of is it blitz action for 2 games, and then we'll see if we're gonna have any meme decks going on today. Alright. On the play against a Yorion deck. Against Yorion, I feel a lot more comfortable keeping slower hands that are gonna kinda sit around and not do as much for the first few turns. Need on a breeding pool. There you go. If they growth spiral, I might want to expansion it. I'll keep that option open. Taking 2 in the long run isn't the worst that could happen by choosing not to, you know, play the stomping ground. 1 top. To me, that screams that I should put out a blast zone. I was gonna say play out the mountain, but I'd rather have the blast zone in case I don't want to counter it, and you know, would rather just put a counter on my blast zone. Because 2 is, I think, the first number that actually matters against them. And would I like to start... I'd like to start looking, but I don't think I want to just make a 1-1. I feel like I can get a little more value out of it. Alright. And now we have some insurance against a blinking Omen of the Seas. Here I'm going to play a mountain. I fully intend to shock myself if it becomes relevant, but until then I'm just going to make a 2-2. Which I think is the first reasonable clock. I'm not going to copy that growth spiral. It happened late enough in the game that I don't feel I need to. If they Uro, I'll let them. I could also cash this in to draw 2 cards, but yep, let them Uro. Especially when their graveyard is basically empty. Things I actually care about involve Yorion being countered later. There we go. 4 mana, flying, 2-2 with flash, ETB, draw a card. No. There have definitely been better cards. But, not that scale that well. At least not, you know, currently in standard. It's just all around pretty good. I'm gonna need the second red soon, so I'll play this tapped. Here's that Omen of the Sea. If nothing happens, we'll go ahead and cycle our second Shark Typhoon. And if anything does happen, we'll see what it is before committing to how we're going to deal with it. Imagining... Oof. I'm gonna let them have this Teferi. We have plenty of answers to it. From Blast Zone to Dragonfire, Storm's Wrath, and another Shark. because it is important to note Teferi does not stop cycling abilities. Narset, however, is annoying. If they still down ticket, we have an answer to both. No, we also could have ticked up the blast zone and killed both of them with that.
No one is more prepared than me. Meditate.
Alright.
Prepare.
I also could have just untapped in Storm's Wrath, but I think I'd rather keep the shark down.
Now what?
Alright, so I'm going to have to shock here, which isn't something I'm a huge fan of.
This is overwhelming.
But, like, it does give away our hand a little here. That we're specifically holding up Thassa's intervention. But it also means that, you know, they might not play the Yorion at all, which we would also really like. Elite Guard Mage. Card that I used to think was absolute draft chaff when I saw it, but has since proven me a fool. I am definitely going to Dragonfire their Guard Mage. I'm not about to deal with gaining 6 drawing an additional card. Let's see what we get. Island. I'm going to play a tapped Steam Vents here and just pass the turn holding up the shark for a blocker on the Charming Prince. I think here, if they don't do anything, we're going to just tap out for a full Thassa's intervention. Alright. So now that Teferi is a little bit more annoying, I'm going to go ahead and full value Thassa's here, with the plan of Storm's Wrathing to deal with the Teferi. Because I really want to find that Wilderness Wreck, and if they go ahead and counter this, then I'm also okay with that. Alright, so I want the Uro. And for later use, I think I want the Mystical Dispute. Yeah. And I'll take the Mystical Dispute. Just to try and deal with their Yorion.
I'm known for my excellent timing.
Could definitely be wrong to take it there over, oh. It shuffles them to the bottom. No. Once again, I'm completely fine with the Uro. I imagine we're about to see them bounce our shark. No. We put the Fear of God into them with the choosing to let their spell resolve there. So let's see. Lead on a growth spiral, I imagine. Put an island in. Alright. So here we hit the Teferi.
That didn't pan out.
Drop the Storm's Wrath.
This is hardly my worst defeat.
Play a tap land to keep their suspicions down, and hope they don't play a land before their Yorion. I think here I would like to prevent them from double spelling and from leaving up mana to counter our expansion explosion that is 100% about to be pointed at the Teferi. They could still, of course, hold up a Mystic Dispute, but there is far less that we need to worry about, including another spell
Stand by
happening
and watch.
this turn. Like, we don't want them to...
I've got you.
Might be able to stop them from, doing that. Being able to replay it as well. Right, let's see. I don't need to stop on man step. So here, I don't think I'm going to play around Mystical Dispute. Drawing 3 cards doesn't feel good enough here. So I think I've got to just say I hope they don't have it. And they did use their mana as efficiently as possible, although they did purposefully hold up blue. This could be entirely wrong. But I think my chances of winning are not very high if I don't take this chance.
I really should have seen that coming.
Whereas now I think we're in a much better, if not entirely stable position. So you see how, even after doing that,
Sorry I'm late.
I don't exactly feel like I'm in a position where I'm, you know, exactly the most likely to win. So if I had done it for 3, you can imagine how much worse this spot would be. Omen of the Sea. I think how they did this is pretty indicative that they're planning on bouncing their Omen. Then again, just getting the most information possible is also a likely possibility. Alright, so we're going to be able to Storm's Wrath their Teferi if we want to. Lead on. Getting any lands left in my deck out. Haha, last basic. Unfortunate. Let's see. Here, I think I just want to Uro into Storm's Wrath. There we go, drop the Blast Zone. And I'm fine with how that is tapping. There we go. And here, yeah, I think I don't want to tick up the Blast Zone to 3. I'd rather start deploying. We don't exactly have anything that cares about our graveyard, so... Now, it is worth noting that I am still going to play out these Fabled Passages and crack them just to fill up the yard for Uro. It's not the best use, obviously, but hey, it's what we got. And leaving it down does also represent potential for Mystical Dispute to the opponent, which could change their play pattern here. Not on their end step, they definitely don't care about their Omen getting countered. Even if it has already drawn them 3 cards. I imagine this turn for our opponent is going to consist of killing our Uro and deploying their own. In the worst possible way, I might add. Hope they don't have another Teferi to start blinking that back and forth. That's a very powerful thing they can do, and not something we're very well equipped to beat. Our best draw here, I feel, would be a wilderness wreck. I'm not going to let them know that these are just duds quite yet. I'm also not going to play out the Fabled Passage pre-cast in case I end up wanting to play the Omen. Also doesn't change anything. Definitely stopping an Iron Step. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. We could hit them for 16. I don't think that's the best use of our time yet. Because I think if we do that, we lose our wreck. No, on reflection, I think playing out the Shark Typhoon and then starting to make our Shark Army is the best use of our time. Move to end step. Float blue. Red. Resolve. And now we will drop the I believe that's 9. 10. So let's dome them for 10, draw 10. Auto pay, make a 14-14. Alright, note here. Now we're going to be discarding Stomping Ground, Temple of Abandon, Temple of Epiphany. We're completely okay with them drawing cards. Them not doing that in response lets me know that we need to the expansion, lets me know we need to stop playing around them having a potential, what do you call it? A potential mystical dispute. They'd have done it in response otherwise to make sure they don't take 14 and we don't draw 14. Alright, so here, Stomping Ground, Temple, Temple, Dispute, Omen. Our spells cost more. That is fine. They're still dead if they take the shark hit, and I believe even if they don't. Especially with second Wilderness Wreck. $19 cards left in our deck, that's important to remember. So here we have entered the position where every turn we get to, depending on what they Elspeth with their Yorion, get to do an absurd amount of damage. And not every turn damage, sorry. We get to make a fairly absurdly sized shark. And just create a constant stream of pressure for them to deal with. Also worth noting, they cannot Conqueror's Death the 14-14. They will have to try blocking it. I don't think we're going to play out the second Shark Typhoon, though. So if they deal with our Wilderness Reclamation, I think that's the worst case scenario for us. Because if they don't, I'm fairly certain we just win. Without even needing the shark to connect. Alright, and they have opted to deal with our mana. I'm going to try and resolve all. And this time it actually appears to be working. Alright. And we attack them with our shark. As expected, they declare a block. We will drop a wilderness reclamation. Yep. And let's see. We're still going to plan on expansioning them this turn. So let's see, 5, 6, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14. Right, so I believe that's only 14. This will be easy enough to tell. How many cards left in our deck? 18. And yes, that is correct. So there we go. Get another 14, 14. Or sorry, 18, 18. Here we're just going to kind of keep the Rex and deal with the discard as quickly as we can. Important not to discard the expansion explosions. Do not need more land. There we go. Dream render. Alright, so important to put a stop in our upkeep. Because otherwise Alright, so the only thing that matters here is if we can 7 them. Can we afford to? I don't believe so. Oh! Xerxes. Nothing else we can do here. Important to note that we should hit our opponent with this, because if we do not, then it will end up as a draw should it resolve, given they will state-based actions will be checked at the end, even though cards resolve from top to bottom. And at the same time we draw from an empty library, they will be at 0 life, and the game will be over in their favor. Alright, and we are back up to silver. Let's try and hit that gold where we like to stagnate. Alright, so here, as I promised, I'm going to give you a little bit of Visit Blitz. I'll play 2 games of this, and then I'm going to call it for the day, and see you all in the next video. Alright, so here we have a lot of card draw, but not very much of it is efficient, even on the play. This is definitely a mulligan. So here I like this hand. This is an example of something that is fast enough to be able to with the Phoenix, get some early pressure on for our late game, and at the same time has a potential big threat. My problem here is I want this discovery as well as the thrill for the Phoenix and the Drake, but I can't have it all, so I'm going to have to get rid of the dispersal. Lead on Fabled Passage, crack it for Mountain during their end step. Mountain. Alright, there's a pretty good draw. Now this could be a mistake to wait until their end step to thrill, but I want to give them as little information as possible. Right, so here that robber is going to start drawing cards pretty quickly. Alright. I want to draw a shock here. And I think I'm willing to shock myself to try and get it. Don't want a Sprite Dragon. Alright, so we didn't get there on the Phoenix and killing the robber this turn. And hopefully that doesn't come back to bite us. Next turn I think I'm just planning on dropping the Drake as a nice defensive body there. I'll do it off of the Fabled Passage. Deck thinning isn't really real, but especially not when you've scryed. But I also do want to go ahead and get that out of the way. And when you draw as many cards as this deck does, it kind of adds up. Alright, so we can get our Phoenixes both back next turn and start swinging this race in the other direction. Alright, so that tells me they have a Rimrook Knight. And if they have a Rimrook Knight... Alright, let me see if I just can win next turn. So that's 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12... 13, 14, 16 at most, I believe. So, as much as I don't like it, I think I'm pretty priced into blocking that Annex. There we go. And either way, they were going to get 2 tokens. But at least this way, that's all they'll be getting. And it also keeps my draw for Flame Sweep life. Load up the stage. Exactly what I like seeing. Alright, they've got a Scorch Spitter. I'm going to lead on Discovery Dispersal. I think that informs my draws the most. And I don't want either of those. So into the bin they go. And this way I get to keep my... I guess I don't get to bring back the other Phoenix though. What's on top? But I think it is still worth getting back the one Phoenix as a blocker. No attacks here. Oof, there is a Bone Crusher. I think we really need the Flame Sweep here, or we're just kind of out of it. There we go. Goodbye Phoenix, goodbye Island. One. And this is going to be just as a blocker once again. I'm gonna get rid of the Scorch Spitter because it does unblockable damage. And as much as I'm not exactly the biggest fan of having to do this, I think it is our best shot of starting to stabilize. Because we do need those Phoenixes back to stop the constant barrage of damage from our opponent here. Maybe I should have attacked there. I did have 10 damage. I think I might have played that a little too conservatively. Yeah, I definitely played that too conservatively. I was caught up in the, we've already dropped down to 7, whereas all we'd have needed was a single removal spell, or sorry, a single spell of any kind for next turn to win from there. So here I'm going to double block the Fervent Champion, given its first strike, because I want to be able to kill it through a Rimrook Knight. There we go. I'll pass the turn here. I'm hoping I don't need to use this shock, because if I don't need to use the shock, it's a spell I can use to start trying to get back Phoenixes once they've traded off in combat here. If they go attacking though, I think I am going to use it. Alright, excellent. Alright, let's opt. See if we can find a way to win right now. Oh, there's a way to win right now. Flame Sweep. Might not be this turn, but it is definitely a victory. And here we hit them for 12, making any 2 attackers lethal. And sitting over here at 7, I'm not exactly afraid of any combination of spells from them I can imagine. Maybe land quad shock, but they don't even have the cards for that, so I guess it would involve a light up the stage. Just trying to imagine scenarios where I lose from here. Suppose if they had that same play with double Fervent Champion. Hit me for 4, light up the stage. No, because then they don't have the mana. Oh! Any burn spell. The length of time they thought about it makes me think they don't have one, though. Alright, and it looks like we got there. Oof, maybe not. Ah, 1 mana short. I feel your pain, opponent. If they had the shock the entire time, I'd be pretty impressed. He's a good troll. But no, looks like we got there. Alright, so that was definitely not the best play, but what's important is to see it and play better than that. Alright, so a Luris deck. I really don't think this is where we want to be. If this had been a Cathartic Reunion, this hand is fine, given I can pitch the Phoenix and such, but right now this is not what we're looking for. Okay, this is definitely more like it. So here, given how good all of my hand is, and the fact that I have Thrill and Double Temple, well, I guess I'm not going to have Double Temple, because I am shipping a land, and I want the untapped land for Sprite Dragon on too. And here, we do want land, including that temple. We don't want to flame sweep exactly on 3 in most matchups against them, or most variants of Lurrus decks. Cycling deck might be one that we did, though. They are, however, also the version with the least removal, so this is going to be a race. Flame Sweep is still good against them because of their cycling token generator, it is worth noting. And if they tap out for that and we draw land, we will be Flame Sweeping. They are not going to do that, it seems. And they have grown their Fox out of the range of us dealing with it. Going to Thrill, discarding Arclight. Growing our Fox. Right, that is a good draw. Can we afford to try waiting? I don't think we have the luxury of waiting long enough to bring back that Phoenix. I think here we want to thrill away the Flame Sweep once the option presents itself. Especially our next turn is going to consist of a Sprite Dragon Opt to try and get this race going. Right, Valiant Rescuer might change that a little. So let's see, if I thrill a possibility here, there's a chance of bringing back one Phoenix. But I feel like we have a better shot of trying to straight up race them. Don't want a Cathartic Reunion. I do want an island. And let's see, this is 2 damage this turn represented versus potentially maybe 3 next turn, but also tying up my mana, so I think it is actually more productive to not worry about the Phoenix and just try and swing in as quickly as we possibly can. Drake is too slow right now. Here we go. So next turn we do have lethal. Let's just hope that they don't. They easily could. Their entire deck is basically just cyclers. But I also don't think we have the ability to not go full race mode given their big payoff. At least not with this hand. The one we opened with. I'm going to pass turn here. There's nothing we can do if they're just going to kill us here. I did give some consideration to just flame sweeping. Ooh. Alright. So they didn't have lethal, it appears. But they might have put us far enough behind that we can't come back. I'm going to lead on discovery. Am I? It gives me the greatest chance of bringing back multiple Phoenixes, I feel. So I'm going to lead on it. Also, if we draw the double strike spell, this is more likely to find it. Graveyard. That doesn't really help. Shockland does not help. So here, what are we looking for? Not sure, we have an out left now. So we will take our own life here. And thank you everybody for watching. I hope you had a good time. This has been Zerda with Team Top Deck. And please remember to like, comment, subscribe, and have a wonderful day.